3, 2, 1. Let's do the trick. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Traxion YouTube channel for what is another brand new video and a bit of a unique one this week because Piers and I are here on the sofa and we are going to be answering every single one of the questions that you guys sent us across all of our social media channels. So I think we asked Instagram, Twitter, YouTube community. If you saw the post and you asked a question, we're going to answer it in this video or a second video which is going in the More Traxion channel, which you'll be able to check out as well. But I think the best thing to do would be to just fire straight on with it and get answering some questions. So the first question that comes in is a familiar face. It comes from Rich Hudson, who says on Twitter, do you like video games?
Do you like video games?
I mean, I like video games.
Racing games.
Yeah, fair. Eden Diesel on Twitter says, where did Traxion start and how did you all group up to create the content you make today? I'll probably take the first part of that because I've been involved with Traxion since the start and actually since before it started. For me personally, it was applying for a job. It was as simple as that. Didn't actually know what Traxion was going to be at the time. I was applying as someone who wanted to make video content on racing games and sim racing and ended up here making videos for Traxion. And it was basically a gathering of people, like-minded people who were into racing games and sim racing and wanted to tell people about it. And that's kind of how Traxion was born, I guess. And then you come in much more recently.
Yes, I started, as you will have probably seen on the Traxion YouTube channel. I've been making some videos since about February, I think it was, February this year. So what's that, 3 or 4 months in now. Very much enjoying it, loving making some racing game content for hopefully all you guys at home, and hopefully you're enjoying it. But no, it's really good to be part of the team, and yeah, we just love making content about racing games, which is our passion. Right, next question is from Jonas Gulbradson on YouTube. How big is the crew making these videos, and are there any specific roles like an editor, or do you just make it all yourself?
Very good question. A bit of both. Sometimes we make it all ourselves. We write the videos, present them, and edit them. Sometimes Osley Beatty, is you may have seen on some of our videos, is our kind of main video editor, so he'll do a lot of the editing as well, and he's fantastic at it. We've got a full editorial team on the website too, so Tom, Ross and Justin all write the articles you see on the Traxion website daily, and those also form parts of videos as well. So a lot of our videos, you'll be able to see the credits at the end of them, tells you who they're written by. And then we also have Alex on social media as well, covering you on all those things. And Alex has popped up in videos on the More Traxion channel and on the main Traxion channel and socials as well. So it's a fairly big team. Some other people chip in as well sometimes and help with edits when we're all super, super busy. So it is a big team effort, which is nice. I enjoy it for sure. Next question is Rahib on YouTube, who says, car.
Yes.
Car.
Necray on YouTube, any plans for a video detailing the best way to get into sim racing on a budget? Also appreciate the content, much love. Well, thank you so much, Necray. We appreciate that you're liking the content and hopefully plenty more, so make sure you're subscribed. But best way to get into sim racing on a budget, I'd say you need a steering wheel and pedals. I think you can't go wrong with something like a Logitech G29, G920, G27. You can get used stuff as well on eBay. Just basically get going with it and find out if you want to do it long term, and then from there you can then start spending more money if you want to or not. Yeah,
I've had Logitech for the last, I think, 3 wheels, and I still have a Logitech G29 at home, which is the sim I use for racing and doing competitive esports as well at times. So basically, the main thing you need to do is find a game that you enjoy, that you can afford to do. Try and get some hardware, whether it's console or PC. Console's cheaper. It's actually probably an easier entry point into sim racing. And try and get a wheel and pedals, because it will really, really help you. They did ask as well, any plans for a video detailing it? We might do it at some point in the future. It's not in our immediate plans. We have a million video ideas on the horizon. That is definitely something we'll consider, but there's some general advice for you at least. And that does lead us on to the next question, and you'll see what I'm doing here with the order, because RowdyMatt51 on Twitter asks, what is your favorite simulator rig? I'm thinking of upgrading. So I think we can probably talk about some of the stuff we've reviewed, and obviously you've got stuff at home as well. I mean, what would be your favorite rig? Well,
when you say rig, I think you mean the actual frame or the rig itself, so not the steering wheel or pedals or anything like that. We've reviewed a few on this channel. Recently we reviewed it's actually just out of shot, just over there, the Playseat Trophy Logitech G Edition, and I think that's a really good rig, a great place to start. It's a really nice combination between stiffness, lightness, ease of use, comfort and everything. That's a great place to start, but it depends on, of course, your budget. I have an aluminium profile rig at home, and I think if you're going with something more serious like direct drive wheels, load cell pedals, then they are definitely the ultimate way. They're a lot more customizable, but then they a lot more effort to build. So very much depends on your own, I suppose, situation. Next one is Red Ken Racing on Instagram. If cost wasn't a factor, what would you consider to be the ultimate sim racing setup? So that's hard to answer because there's so much gear out there, and we haven't tried it all. We do get to try a decent amount. We hear very good things from direct drive specialists like SimuCube and the SimuCube 2 direct drive wheelbase. I'd probably go with some sort of aftermarket wheel like the MPX that you tested recently, and I think some sort of really high-end load cell or hydraulic pedals, for example, the Husing Bell Ultimates or VRS pedals or something like that, is what I would go for. And then probably have some sort of display unit, maybe like, I don't know, just some display unit with some LEDs, and then definitely triple screens. That's what I'd go for, I reckon.
I'd go triple screens or curved monitor. I wouldn't go VR at this stage, maybe in future. MPX steering wheel of the ones I've tried, not tried all of the premium ones, but that's definitely the best so far. And then I would say actually in terms of the base, I love the Thrustmaster T818. I think the force feedback on it is fantastic, maybe something more powerful, but T818 in terms of detail. And then obviously an aluminium profile rig as well. It's just a case of kind of getting the best of everything. Pedals wise, Acertech are a good one as well. They're the best I've tried, but I've heard great things about other brands that you mentioned.
What about Money No Object, the new SimuCube active pedal? They are very expensive.
We need to try them.
We need to try them.
Right, Insight on YouTube asks, how important actually is a frame for mounting your wheel? Is a desk still okay, and how does it differ? Now I think I'll start this one off because I still sim race quite comfortably on a desk at home because I have a steering wheel that's not going to outperform the desk. So I have a G29 Logitech wheel, it doesn't have a strong direct drive motor or anything like that, and I can use it on a desk and I don't have any issues. You just need enough weight on the desk to make sure nothing moves around. So yes, you absolutely can sim race with a desk, but if I was upgrading to a stronger wheelbase, if I needed stronger pedals, which I couldn't push back against the wall or leave on the floor, you would have to have a rig. So essentially, you can start on a desk, that's fine, but as soon as you start upgrading the equipment around it, I would say at that point you kind of need a rig.
48 Nascar fan on YouTube. What should I do when I upgrade my setup, wheel or pedals? I assume which one do you mean first? If you're starting out from, say, a budget wheel and pedal set like a G29 or a G920 or a T128 from Thrustmaster, then you're going to want to get the pedals first because the biggest upgrade that you can make pretty much in your sim racing setup is getting a load cell brake. If you already have a load cell brake and a decent set wheel or pedals, it very much depends on your personal preference, what you want to enjoy, and what you think is going to be your biggest gain in terms of either performance or fun, depending on what you prioritize.
I totally agree, yeah. Brake pedal if you want to be faster in terms of an esports sense, but if you want to have a bit more fun and have more options, steering wheel's always a good way to go.
Yeah.
So the next section is questions you guys have asked about our racing game opinions. So it could get a little bit deep and a little bit detailed here, but we'll see how it goes. Peter Schuster on Twitter asks, how good, as in realistic, do you reckon the physics are in Race Room compared to other sims? Obviously, accessibility and variety are Race Room strengths. Disadvantages, maybe it's small player base, but how well does it simulate race cars? Now, I'll probably take this one because I know you've not done too much Race Room. I think it's a mixed bag. I think it's an accessible sim, so it does realistically portray your slower cars, your tin tops, in a way that allows you to drive in a realistic style, but you don't get the detail that you get with some of these other sims. So I'd say iRacing, R-Factor 2, for example, give you more detail in the force feedback, but Race Room is a nice entry-level starting point, and the cars do actually feel realistic, they feel weighty. One thing I would say though is Formula cars, single-seaters, in my experience, don't feel as realistic on Race Room as they do in other sims, so I'd say that's maybe one of the weak points. But yeah, online functionality is really good. We just need more people playing Race Room because I think it's a great stepping stone into sim racing. Right,
next question. Nicholas Michalik Naus on Facebook.
Well done.
I'm hoping I pronounced that well. Sorry, Nicholas. How can we have two Porsche 992 Cup cars in two different simulations in iRacing and R-Factor 2 that are completely different to drive, and which one is the real one? Well, you are completely right. There is the same car in two different simulators, and they are supposed to be simulations, and they do feel very, very different. You've said something at the end, which is which one is the real one, which assumes that one is right and one is wrong. But in sim racing, there is no right and wrong, in my opinion. I've driven some cars on iRacing that I have driven in real life, same with R-Factor 2, and some of them feel really similar on both sims, and some of them feel a bit more different. And actually, I've watched a video recently that Daniel Morad put out, where he's actually driven the 992 Porsche in real life and won championships in it. And he says that the one on iRacing feels rubbish, it feels like you're driving on a cloud. But then there are other cars on iRacing that are excellent, and he races on iRacing and says that the AMG GT4 is like pretty much exactly the same. So you're sort of almost asking us to compare, is iRacing wrong and R-Factor right, or vice versa? Well, it depends even between cars on sims. So I would say for that specific car that you've mentioned, probably R-Factor 2, I think it feels really good. The GT cars on R-Factor 2 feel excellent. We like driving them, and of course we did the GT Challenger as a stream recently, and yeah, they're great. So for that car, definitely R-Factor 2, but other cars, I'm sure it flips and flops between them.
There's so many variables, so very, very difficult one to answer, but it's a great question. David Riley on Facebook says, do you think Codemasters are the best racing game developers?
Define best.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to personal preference, doesn't it? So I love Dirt Rally 2.0, one of the best current rally games, and that's Codemasters. I love the F1 games for what they are, but they're not what I would say the best simulation. So, I mean, it's great because they release games yearly. They put out lots of great stuff and you can rely on them, but who knows? It just completely depends on your personal preference. But they are a great racing game developer, one of the most famous and rightly so.
If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree,
love that. Love that. I use that far too often.
There you go. Next question is from Icus Sky on YouTube. We know about the Motorsport Network connection, but how does that affect your personal opinions about the negative press around motorsport games and R Factor 2? Secondly, what would you want Studio 397 to focus their development on in R Factor 2 right now if they asked you?
I think we'll start with the first part of that question. So obviously for anyone who's not aware, we are as Traxion owned by Motorsport Games, but we are editorial independent, so we create content for all racing games, and that's what that connection is. So in terms of our personal opinions about the negative press, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, it's obviously difficult because you want the company that you essentially are owned by, you want there to be positive press about them, but then at the same time, that has to be earned. There has, if Motorsport Games had produced a number of games that everyone loved, I'm sure there wouldn't be as much negative press. NASCAR Ignition, obviously, lots of people weren't a big fan of it. I wasn't a big fan of it personally at all as well. So I can kind of understand it. There are still things that are maybe unjustified, but that's the same as everything. With any negative press, there's some of it is very true, some of it is a load of rubbish, but at the end of the day, we all just want good racing games. So if they start producing some fantastic racing games that we can all enjoy, then I'm sure that'll make things a lot better. But from our point of view, we're just trying to enjoy the games that people are making. So I think that's pretty much it on that one.
Yeah.
Second part of the question, I'll maybe go to you first for this one. What would you want Studio 397 to focus their development on?
Well, R Factor 2 has always had, I think not many people disagree with this, it's always had a great base and the physics is very much there, and a lot of people enjoy driving it, as do we. We both definitely enjoy driving it. But for me, I race on iRacing mostly, that's my sim of choice. And that's not because I think it's better in terms of physics than R Factor 2, but because I like racing. I like racing against other people, real people. I'm not really into AI driving a huge amount. So therefore, iRacing gives me that option. So whenever I've got a free moment, because I don't have a lot of free time, if I'm ready, there's a race there. Whereas at the moment, I don't feel like R Factor quite provides that. Although I have seen that they're trying to develop something. I saw in Discord that hopefully will allow that to happen in the future. So very much looking forward to that. And hopefully they can produce something that allows that more readily. Yeah,
continue working on multiplayer. Give people a reason to come back and race more often on multiplayer in a more structured way. I would love that. So hopefully the competition system continues to develop that way. And also have a package that's really easy to jump on, fire up and drive, and you don't really feel like you need a degree sometimes to get it set up properly. So I would say, keep doing that stuff. Fingers crossed it'll be a good game for years to come, because the foundations are certainly there.
Very much so.
Hayden James on Twitter, another regular follower, asks, can we get an explanation as to why we don't see Holden in Gran Turismo and some info on licensing intricacies? Now, I know a little bit about licensing, but I'm obviously not involved in any of that stuff, but I've heard things about licensing. Mainly, it's about an agreement. It's as simple as that, agreement between two parties. If something doesn't work for one party, maybe not enough money is exchanged, or someone doesn't feel comfortable about a contract that's been offered, it won't happen. So whether that's on Holden's side, Gran Turismo's side, basically at the end of the day, you need the two parties to communicate properly, come to an agreement, and if that doesn't happen, you're not going to see it. And that's harder than it seems, because there are lots of manufacturers, licensing people I'm sure are very, very busy trying to deal with so many different things. So yeah, it can be very tricky, but let's hope for your sake, because I know you're a big fan of Holden's, that we can see Holden's back in Gran Turismo in the future.
Yeah, ultimately these are companies and it is business, and with big business there's a lot of moving parts, so often it's not that someone has said no, it's just that there's sometimes we just have to be a bit patient. On to the next question, which is from Denzel Clarkson on Twitter. Is there such thing as a pay to play, in that some sims like iRacing and ACC bring out new DLC, which results in the newer DLC cars benefiting from the BOP until new content comes, which then replaces that?
I know what this question is all about. I know what you mean, and obviously we don't know if ACC deliberately make their brand new car that little bit quicker to make people buy the DLC. They're never going to tell you if they did. I think you just have to go with the evidence, and to be honest, it's usually I think they're pretty good. Like I see most games try and balance it fairly.
But you also forget that generally a newer car comes out because it's a newer car in real life, and generally things move forward in real life, so often it is just a better car. So I think there's potentially sometimes they just give it a little edge because they're obviously making business. It's a business at the end of the day. If the companies didn't make money, we wouldn't have racing games. So probably a bit of maybe sometimes, and a bit of also new content as well. But anyway,
we're kind of guessing. Let's be honest.
We don't work for a development, we're a sim racing developer. So
SCA513 on Twitter asks, any news on WRC 23? And we also have a question from Runaway Plane on YouTube who says, when is WRC 23 coming out? Now, we don't know is the simple answer to that question. If you want any updates on this, make sure you check out the Traxion website, because we will know as soon as that happens on the website. I mean, that's where I go for my racing game news. I find out things through the website before I've heard about them on social media. Unfortunately, we haven't heard anything, so we'll keep you in the loop as much as possible, I guess.
Next question is from Lewis Edmondson on Instagram. When is Forza Motorsport being released?
We don't know. Well, we do know. We know it's 2023 at some point. They've said that. Whether it happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. But they've said 2023. I've also read some media outlets saying it's October 2023. That's based on leaks or rumours, so take that with a pinch of salt. You have to go on what's been said by the developers, and they've said 2023. So that's as much as we know about that. Hopefully it comes soon, because I'm very excited about it. I want to see what it's all about, and it's been development for a very long time.
All we do know is that as soon as that information is available, you'll be able to find it out on the TraxionGG website, because of course that is the place that you should get all of your up-to-date sim racing news.
Sweet, and then we've got GeoGamer on YouTube who asks, roadmap for ACC 2023-24, where is it? Where is it? It's a good question. Where is it? We don't really know what's going to happen. We know roughly there's going to be a GT2 pack coming at some point, we've been told in the past. We've had podcast episodes on the Traxion channel where you can hear from the developers and find out more information. Again, keep an eye on the website. It's going to have everything for you, but the answer is we don't know. Other than the GT2 pack, we just don't know. They've just had version 1.9, so don't expect major updates anytime soon. But do expect it to come to console within the next 5 or 6 months, I would hope, in terms of version 1.9. So if they follow what they've been doing recently, console players, you should get it this year, but let's hope soon. So we're going to move on now to some general questions, and the first few are actually about NASCAR. Now, we could sit here and try and answer these questions, and I watch a little bit of NASCAR, you watch not much NASCAR at all, but I feel like that's probably the wrong thing to do, because we do have Justin Melillo as part of our editorial team who gives you all of the NASCAR news, and you guys asking the questions on Twitter are probably looking for Justin's answer. So we thought, why not let Justin answer for himself? Over to you.
NASCAR. Yeah, I gotcha. I'm Justin Melillo. I am one of the junior editors over on the website side of TraxionGG, and I've got a couple of questions in front of me here. Our first one comes from Joey at JackhammerJT on Twitter, and he asks, what is your favorite classic NASCAR game from the PS2, PS3 era? Well, Joey, I've played a lot of NASCAR video games in my day, and I am a PlayStation fanboy a little bit. I do enjoy a lot of the games from the mid to early 2000s. Specifically, I have enjoyed the NASCAR Thunder Series 2003, but also NASCAR Thunder 2004. This is probably one of my favorites of all time, as well as NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. 2004 has a very immersive career mode. It is incredible what you can do in the career with building your cars, with building your team, with, getting from track to track. A very memorable experience. Chase for the Cup, probably less memorable, but it did have the modifieds and it did have the trucks as playable vehicles in the game, and you could progress through the ranks that way. But if we're talking about progressing through the ranks, I do have one game that trumps all of them, and that is Dirt to Daytona. This is a masterpiece, and I absolutely love this game. It's not everybody's favorite game, but it is mine. This game is incredible, going from the dirt through the modifieds to the trucks and then to Cup. Yeah, Cup didn't really have the greatest physics, but I did enjoy going through the ranks and building up my team, and just the overall essence of the game was just absolutely perfect. So that would probably be my favorite game from that time period. Our second question comes from Steven at S Waters Racing on Twitter. Steven asks, what is the future of NASCAR gaming looking like? Steven, nobody knows. It is up in the air what we're going to see from NASCAR gaming in the future. I would say that for right now, there's not much of a console type of thing. There's still people that are playing NASCAR Heat 5 that released back in 2020. There's still people that are playing the older games such as these. I mean, I still play Dirt to Daytona. That's one of my favorite experiences of all time. So for right now, it's not that great. For the future, though, who knows? Who knows what we'll see? I know that you can get a pretty decent NASCAR gaming experience on the iRacing simulator. It is kind of fact that you could get on iRacing, you could set up an AI season, you can have your own custom tailored NASCAR experience through that, getting together with the painters of trading paints, downloading those car sets, and you can kind of fake it a little bit. We'll have to see how it all plays out, and I am hopeful. I don't want to be, overly optimistic, but I am hopeful that we do see some good NASCAR gaming in our future. So yeah, that's it for the NASCAR side of things. Thank you guys, and I'll throw it back over there.
Thanks very much, Justin, for that and your insight into NASCAR world. Now let's move on to some more questions. So, from 130 Racing on YouTube, what is your favourite motorsport series? John?
Oh, where do I start? So many. Like, I watch far too many series.
You watch a lot.
Cars, yeah. I watch MotoGP, all the Formula 1 and the supporting categories, GT racing, Rally, WRC. I follow too many things. I mean, yeah. It's a problem.
Yeah, it is a slight problem. I think you should go see someone about that. But anyway, I follow most religiously Formula 1 because it's Formula 1.
Yeah.
My partner really enjoys Formula 1. She's not massively into racing, but it's something that we can both watch together, so I get to watch racing and she enjoys it too. But I don't generally have a huge amount of time to watch any other racing other than I actually commentate and present for the GB3 and GB4 championships, which is effectively F3 and F4 in the UK, and the GT Cup. And I like British GT, and I dabble with GT Challenge Europe and also BTCC as well.
And we both race ourselves as well, so
Yes.
we're busy on a lot of weekends doing racing. I mean, the whole team, to be honest, is mad on motorsport. Our editor, Ross McGregor, follows every single series you could possibly name, two-wheel and four. Obviously, Justin over in the States, massive NASCAR fan. Tom Harrison-Lord, our main editor on the website, follows pretty much as many racing series as I do all across the world. Osley follows Formula 1 religiously. So there's the whole team. Alex as well on social follows all sorts of American motorsport. We're all pretty much crazy for racing and racing games, obviously, along with that. So yeah, we could go on forever about that, but we'll not, because we have other things to be doing and more questions to answer. Like this one from Speedy Prod on YouTube. What is your favourite F1 team and driver, and did you do karting as a kid?
I did a lot of karting.
You're very good. You're very good at karting.
I can on a good day, but no, I've done a lot of karting. I've karted since I started when I was 9. Did a lot of hire karting, a lot of indoor karting, a lot of pro karts, endurance karting. Did race in Rotax and X30 a little bit when I was younger. Then a few years ago, raced in X30 for a few years. I love karting. And what was the first part of the question?
What's your favourite F1 team and driver?
Oh, I actually really like Lando Norris. I did race against him a few times when I was much younger in karting, and I've also raced against him at Buckmore Park in a charity race, I think a few years ago. But I think Lando Norris and McLaren, I'm hoping that him and that team will rise up, because I think he's a genuine talent and he's British, which is great.
We both ended up in the same karting race at Buckmore years ago, and I think Piers won and I was like 25th or something. But this race had like Jack Aitken and Ollie Rowland and all sorts of big time drivers. This guy is a very, very good karter.
And before we move on, I would like to say that my favourite driver is actually Lewis Hamilton. He is the GOAT, and any other opinion is wrong.
Well, my favourite driver is Esteban Ocon, just to throw one out there, bit of a curveball. I don't have a favourite team because it used to be Force India. What was that face?
Okay, moving on.
Leave him alone.
Right, the Xeon 5 on YouTube. If you can remaster one game, what would it be? Go on, John. One word answer.
One game answer. Gran Turismo 4 Burnout 3 Takedown.
GTR 2. That was my gateway into sim racing. What a game. Chris Barry, or Clemenson Chris 28 on Instagram. If you could pick one racing game to play for the rest of your life, which one is it? This is a big question.
My favourite racing game of all time is Gran Turismo 4. But if I could play
choice.
one racing game to play for the rest of my life, I would pick something like iRacing, which I'm not even currently subscribed to, simply because it's a service and they're going to keep on going with it, and most importantly, as good multiplayer functionality, which means I'm never going to get bored. I'm not going to complete the same game 5 times. There's always going to be multiplayer racing. If iRacing continues to continue, then that makes sense because I'll always have new stuff to be getting my hands into.
I think the same thing. I like iRacing as it is. I like jumping from car to car already. I mostly race the LMP2, but I do like jumping in the IR04, the GT3 cars, loads of random stuff. And I think because of the variety and there's always a race, no matter what car you drive, that's my reason.
Sanok Mayek, a regular viewer on YouTube, asks, what racing game is your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure.
Go on, John.
Well, I wouldn't say any of mine are guilty. I mean, I loved the TTI Live Man Riding the Edge 2 game, which lots of people didn't. I love indie games, Art of Rally, Circuit Superstars. They're not really guilty pleasures though, because everyone kind of likes them. I'd say probably the one guilty pleasure of recent times is Need for Speed Unbound, because I get why people aren't a big fan of it and the style and the kind of cringy storylines and all that, but I kind of really enjoy playing it. So that's probably it.
Mario Kart. Moving on.
That's not guilty. No way in hell is that guilty.
Remy Tvardovsky,
Well done.
I think I did pretty well there, on Twitter, will you create an esports team and running on many games like GT7, ACC and iRacing? So basically, are we going to make a Traxion team?
Hopefully. We've talked about it before. We'd like to do stuff like that, and there's a few things to think about. It's not in the pipeline right now, but there are definitely Traxion sponsored cars and liveries. I mean, I've even had Traxion on my real life race car as well, and we will definitely look into that stuff in the future, and it would be a lot of fun. So yeah, we want to get the community involved in more of our stuff. Speaking of, Positive Perception on Twitter, would you guys and girls like me to do you a special one-off livery? Obviously, Traxion branded to heck. Yes, we would.
Do it.
Because any Traxion liveries you guys can make is great, because it looks great, we get to see them, we get to try them out on videos if they're available for the car we're driving. Why not? If you want to do one, we'd love to see it. We also have a question here from Linus Dellenbach on YouTube, who says, where do you think sim racing will be in 2026? That's a deep question, Linus.
Yes.
Deep
I
question.
think, well, so that's not next year, 24 or 25, so it's in 3 years' time, 2 or 3 years' time. It'll be in a good place, I'm almost certain of it. I think iRacing is going to be in a good place, but also all the other sims are improving, you know, month on month, year on year, so it'll only be a better place, and as technology moves on, and our hobby will only be getting more realistic and more enjoyable.
Yeah, new rally games. I reckon in 2026 we'll see F1 26, we maybe see F1 Manager 26, maybe MotoGP 26.
Call you soothsayer.
We'll have to wait and see, but no, generally, sim racing wise, yes. Games will continue to develop. We'll see new people starting. AC2 may be out. Wrench Sport will be well underway.
Who even knows? Maybe some sims that we haven't even heard of or even thought about, or maybe even from developers that don't exist yet.
Yeah, more general sims, more Motorsport series titles that we know are coming. We can't wait for it all. So hopefully a great place where technology continues to develop. Right, to finish things off, appreciate this has been a long video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the little insight, and we're trying to get through, as I say, every single one of your questions. If one of your questions has not been in this video, don't worry, because we will be covering it in another video over on the More Traxion channel, which we'll put a link to as well at the end. So go and check that out if you haven't heard your question. But we are going to end things off with a quick fire round. So these should be fairly straightforward question and answers. So I'll start off. Ross McGregor on Instagram, Ford or Holden?
You go first.
Ford.
Holden and V8 supercars, Ford and everything else.
Fair enough. James Davey asks on Twitter, Blur or Split Second? I thought you might be baffled by this because I don't think
They're
you've
two
played
games.
them.
No, I haven't played either of them, but I know of both of them. I would say Split Second looks like my jam, but I haven't played it.
Split Second, but I've never played Blur, but Split Second's amazing. You should try it
Dan on YouTube, what's the best Fast and Furious movie and why is it Too Fast, Too Furious?
I haven't watched any Fast and Furious movies.
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift for me. Gotta be.
I've not seen any, I'm sorry. I just know that they changed to third gear continuously.
Between second and third,
yes.
and third and fourth.
Yeah, so another quick fire question from Neil DeTorg on YouTube. Gentlemen, a short view back to the past. 30 years ago, Niki Lauda told us, take a monkey, place him into a cockpit, and he's able to drive the car. 30 years later, during the race, I don't remember what race, he pressed the wrong button on the wheel. Are you following? Question for you both, so it's for both of us. Is Formula 1 driving today too complicated with 20 more buttons on the wheel? Less buttons, more or less, and more communication with your engineers?
Yes.
I think so. Dan on YouTube, Crofty or Alex Jakes?
Alex Jakes, 100%.
Alex Jakes.
I love Alex Jakes.
When he first started, I wasn't convinced, but he's improved so much over the years, and he's now one of my favourite commentators.
I don't hate Crofty, but Alex Jakes, I think
Alex
he's excellent.
Jakes. Connor O'Malley, how high are you? Well, Connor, I'd say about 130 metres above sea level, and my head's about 6 feet above my feet. Piers is about 2, 3.
6'2".
Sure. Chris Barry, favourite car from a racing game?
GTR2 Maserati MC12 LM V12. Oof, what a car.
I've never played GTR2, but I love that car so much, I can't disagree. So.
But at the moment, my favourite car in sim racing or racing games is the LMP2 and iRacing. Love that car.
Nice, and Porsche 992 Cup car. Absolutely amazing. And Darren Kirk asks on Twitter, who's the fastest? Right, I'm starting.
Yeah, you start. Oh no,
it's still me, it's still me.
Oh no!
Come on, you're a former British F3 driver. You should be able to play this game.
No! Yes, right, okay, right, my turn.
Forget it.
It's a tie, it's a dead heat.
Finale. Who can count to 20 faster? 3, 2, 1, go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think we found out on that one.
So that is going to be it for this Traxion Q&A. Hopefully we answered your questions with as much detail as we could get away with and it didn't take hours, but we'll have to see afterwards. If you want to hear more questions, and of course if your question wasn't in this video, please head over to the More Traxion channel because we are going to be answering the rest of them over there and the video should go out at the same time. So hopefully you can go straight over there, but that's going to be it from us. Have you enjoyed this little detox, Traxion detox?
Yeah, hopefully it's given you guys an opportunity to sort of talk to us directly and yeah, we're looking forward to making more very fun and engaging content for you at home. Of course, you can always comment on our YouTube videos and we try our best to reply to as many of them as possible. But in the meantime, thanks for watching and as always, keep it pinned.